of America than Pocahontas was the discoverer of Great Britain. Native Americans had built great civilizations with many millions of people long before Columbus wandered lost into the Caribbean. Jumping down here, it says, contrary to popular legend, Columbus did not prove that the world was round. Educated people had known that, because that's another thing Columbus supposedly is known for, discovering that the world was round. It says Columbus did not prove that the world was round. Educated people had known that for centuries. The Egyptian Greek scientist Eratosthenes, working for Alexandrian and Aswan, already had measured the circumference and diameter of the world in the 3rd century BC. Arab scientists had developed a whole discipline of geography and measurement, and in the 10th century AD, Al-Maqdisi described the earth with 360 degrees of longitude and 180 degrees of latitude. I got to bring in the Bible in there, because really, you know, the earth was round because it tells you in the scriptures that the Most High sits on the circle. The word circle is mentioned, the circle of the earth. So that's really how you know that the world was round. Reading on, it says, jumping down, it says, this myth of pawned jewels obscures the true and more sinister story of how Columbus financed his trip. The Spanish monarch invested in his excursion, but only on the condition that Columbus would repay this investment with profit by bringing back gold, spices, and other tribute from Asia. This pressing need to repay his debt underlies the frantic tone of Columbus' diaries as he raced from one Caribbean island to the next, stealing anything of value. After he failed to contact the Emperor of China, the traders of India, or the merchants of Japan, Columbus decided to pay for his first voyage in one important commodity he had found in ample supply: human lives, meaning slaves. Now, that's what they tell you in history, that Columbus was trying to find a quick passage to China, like Marco Polo had did years before him. But that's a lie. The truth is, Columbus knew exactly where he was going, and they brought that out in the movie with Gerard Depardieu playing the role of Columbus. They brought it out in that movie 1492 that Columbus knew about the excerpt that was written in the book of 2nd Esdras about the lost tribes of Israel. So Columbus knew about the people that was over here on this side of the earth. He knew that they were Israelites because he had that excerpt from the book of 2nd Esdras, in particular the 13th chapter, the 40th verse. He knew that they were the lost tribes of Israel. So basically he was coming over here to get slaves. That was his main goal, and also to get the resources that the slaves that had where they were scattered. Reading on, it says, he seized 1,200 Taino Indians from the island of Hispaniola, crammed as many unto his ships as he would fit, and send them to Spain, where they were paraded naked through the streets of Seville and sold as slaves in 1495.
Can I say something? Yeah. I already know what you're going to say. They showed you that in that series, The Bogiers. There was a scene where they showed one guy that was, I guess, under Columbus. He had brought one of the slaves butt naked to the Bogier family, and he explained how they got that slave from the New World. So that series, they went deep into that series, man. And they showing you. See, Esau is telling on himself now. You know, just like it says in Psalms, the 64th chapter. All right?
And the only reason he's telling on himself is because we're out there. We're out there on the street, which we're the prophets, all right? And the Most High gave us the job to curse this devil to his face, to bring out all his skullduggery right up to his face.
So read that part again when you get a chance.
The slaves? Yeah. It says he seized, well, let me start over here. Columbus decided to pay for his voyage in the one important commodity he had found in ample supply, human lives, meaning slaves. He seized 1,200 Taino Indians from the island of Hispaniola, crammed as many unto his ships as would fit, and sent them to Spain, where they were paraded naked through the streets of Seville and sold as slaves in 1495. And by the way, we should mention that Columbus never made it to America. All right? He made it to the islands, but not to America. He didn't make it to the mainland of America. Columbus taught children from their parents, husbands from wives. On board Columbus slave ships, hundreds died. The sailors tossed the Indian bodies into the Atlantic. So you know what? Now that I'm reading this and I'm thinking about it, really that's your beginning of your slave trade. Like we always speak about the 1600s, 1611, you know? But here's Columbus engaging in what? A slave trade. Or really a slavery, straight up slavery. There was no trade, but straight up slavery. All right? Reading on, it says, because Columbus captured more Indian slaves, which they were Israelites, they weren't Indians, that he could transport to Spain in his small ships. He put them to work in mines and plantations which he, his family, and followers created throughout the Caribbean. His marauding band hunted Indians for sport and profit, beating, raping, torturing, killing, and then using the Indian bodies as food for their hunting dogs. Within 4 years of Columbus' arrival on Hispaniola, his men had killed or exported 1/3 of the original population of 300,000. Within another 50 years, the Taino people had been made extinct. And another thing we should incur that Columbus, when he came here or came to the islands, he brought Hebrew interpreters with him. Now, how the hell is he supposed to be going to China or Japan? Why would he bring Hebrew interpreters with him? He brought them because he knew exactly who he was coming to conquer. All right, reading on, it says, the Taino people had been made extinct. The first casualties of the Holocaust of the American Indians, or of American Indians, the plantation owners then turned to the American mainland and to Africa for new slaves to follow the tragic path of the Taino. This was the great cultural encounter initiated by Christopher Columbus. This is the event we celebrate each year on Columbus Day. The United States honors only 2 men with federal holidays bearing their names. In January, we commemorate the birth of Martin Luther King Jr., who struggled to lift the... anyway, skip to the... It says, we honor Christopher Columbus, who opened the Atlantic slave trade and launched one of the greatest waves of genocide known in history.
This is from page 364 of Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Okay?
All right. This says, the woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montesinos could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation. She then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose, went over to Montesinos, and to his utter astonishment said, Shema Yasha Allah, Yahweh Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh Akkad. I mean, they got it written in a different It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power, the Lord is one." They had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism. A brief conversation then ensued in the common ancestral tongue, according to Montesinos, whose fluency in it is almost as perplexing to the reader of his narrative as it is that of his three mysterious new companions. They told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben. It says, and that the tribe of Joseph lived on an island nearby.
Yeah, that's the Puerto Rico.